Another wave smashed over the bow and sent freezing spray across the deck of the Meridian. The ship pitched forward, then rolled hard to port. My stomach did that thing where it tries to crawl up into my throat. 3 days of this. 3 days of sitting in my cabin watching equipment readings bounce around like pinballs while the storm tossed us around the Pacific. I'd come out here to investigate some new hydrothermal vents that a survey team found last month. Deep stuff, really deep. The kind of place where you might find something nobody's seen before. But mostly I was thinking about the mining consortium breathing down my neck. Their messages kept getting shorter. Day 1 was all, looking forward to your findings, and excited about the potential. Day 2 dropped to a status update requested. By day 3 it was just ETA? That's corporate speak for hurry the hell up. I watched Marvin Bridges wrestle with a loose cable housing that had broken free during the latest squall. Guy's built like a tank and he was still getting knocked around. The housing was about the size of a refrigerator and it kept sliding across the deck every time we rolled. Marvin finally got a line around it and cranked it down tight. He gave me a thumbs up through the spray. That's Marvin, 45 years old, been working ships since he was 18. If something breaks, he fixes it. If something's loose, he ties it down. If something's making a weird noise, he finds out why. I've worked with a lot of crew chiefs over the years. Most of them are fine. Marvin's the kind you want when things go sideways. Which they had. 3 days of sideways. The storm finally broke on the 4th morning. I woke up around 5:30 and realized the ship wasn't trying to shake me out of the bunk anymore. I could hear normal engine noise instead of that grinding sound we get when the screws come up out of the water. I pulled on my field pants and made it to the bridge in time to catch Easton giving orders to change course. Set heading 270, he said. Full ahead. Captain Easton Barr doesn't mess around. 52 years old, beard going gray, hands like leather. He's been running research vessels for 20 years and cargo ships for 15 before that. When the weather clears, you go. That's it. I spent the next few hours getting everything ready. The ROV Nereid sits in her cradle on the aft deck like some kind of yellow submarine. About the size of a compact car, loaded with cameras and sensors and sampling arms. She's rated for 6,000 meters. We were heading for almost 5,000 meters, right at her limit. Area Park was already running diagnostics on the biological sampling equipment when I got down to the lab. She's got this way of getting excited about gear that reminds me why I love this job. Her lab coat pockets were stuffed with specimen containers and she had 3 different field guides spread across the bench. Camera resolution looks good, she said without looking up, and the spectrometer is reading clean. How's the weather topside? Clear. We're heading for the coordinates now. Declan Howard was hunched over a laptop in the corner, checking the geological sensors. Guy's tall and skinny, and always looked like he's thinking about something complicated, which he probably is. He's got a PhD in marine geology and he actually understands all those pressure readings and temperature gradients that just look like squiggly lines to me. Sonar map's clean, he said. Should have good bottom imaging once we're on site. The mining consortium wanted detailed seafloor maps. That was the official reason we were out here. Some corporate types in expensive suits who thought they could strip mine the ocean floor and turn it into a profit. They needed to know what was down there before they started dropping equipment. But that's not why I was excited. Hydrothermal vents are like alien worlds. 3 miles down where the pressure would crush you in a heartbeat, and the water's so dark you can't see your own hand. But around those vents, life finds a way. Tube worms as long as baseball bats. Crabs that look like they'd crawl out of a nightmare. Bacteria that eat sulfur and somehow turn it into energy. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you find something nobody's ever seen before. I'd been studying deep-sea ecosystems for 15 years. Published papers on chemosynthetic communities, lectured at conferences, but I'd never been first to discover a new species. That's the kind of thing that changes careers, changes lives. The consortium just wanted to know if there were any biological obstacles to their mining operation. I wanted to catalog whatever was living down there before they destroyed it. Randall Kim was doing final checks on Nereid's control system. Kid's 28, but he pilots ROVs like he's been doing it since birth. Steady hands, never gets rattled. He had his headset around his neck and was running through the camera controls with the kind of focus I wish I had. She's ready, he said. All systems green. I looked out at the ocean, flat calm now. dark blue stretching to the horizon. Somewhere almost 3 miles straight down, volcanic vents were pumping superheated water into the crushing darkness. And around these vents, life was doing what life does, finding a way. I sat in the control room watching Neera drop through the black water. The monitor showed nothing but darkness pressing in from all sides. Just the ROV's lights cutting through it like a couple flashlights in a cave. Randall had his hands on the control, totally focused. The depth gauge kept climbing. 3,000 meters. 4,000. The pressure readings made me think about all that water above us. Tons and tons of it. "Coming up on the bottom," Randall said. His voice stayed level, but I could tell he was concentrating hard. I figured we'd see what we always saw down there. Bare rock, maybe some mineral crusts. The usual dead volcanic landscape that mining companies love. That's what the consortium wanted anyway. Nice empty seafloor they could strip clean. But that's not what showed up on the cameras. I actually gasped. Couldn't help it. The light hit something that looked like an underwater garden from another planet. Everywhere I looked, there was life. Massive life. Tube worms as thick as my arms swayed back and forth in the current. Had to be 6 feet long at least. They moved like they were dancing, and the color I'd never seen anything like it down before. Usually everything's pale or white, or completely see-through, but these things had hints of red and orange. "Holy shit," Arya said from behind me. She'd been quiet for the whole descent. Clusters of crabs covered the rocks. Hundreds of them. They looked almost ghostly, this pale white color, but they were everywhere. Scuttling around, formations of clams that were bigger than dinner plates. The whole bottom was carpeted with anemones, but not the boring brown ones you usually find. These were bright. Impossible bright. Electric blues and purples and greens, like someone had taken a paint set to the seafloor. "Look at those chimneys," Declan said. I followed where he was pointing. Tall rocky towers shooting jets of superheated water straight up. The water shimmered as it hit the cold seawater around it, and swimming through all of it were schools of fish, completely transparent. You could see right through them to their organs and bones. I've seen a lot of weird stuff in my years in the deep ocean, but this was different. This was like finding a whole city where you expected an empty desert. "Denise," Ari's voice got that excited pitch it always got when she spotted something good. "Look at that." She was pointing at the main monitor. At first, I didn't see what she meant. Just more of the same incredible landscape. Then something moved past the camera. Something big. "Back up," I told Randall. Slowly. He reversed the thrusters just a touch. The ROV drifted backwards and the light caught it again. An octopus, but not like any octopus I'd ever seen. This thing was massive. Its arms had to span 20 feet, easy, maybe more. It moved through the water like it weighed nothing, all grace and flowing motion. "That's impossible," Arya whispered. But that wasn't even the best part. As we watched, the octopus's skin started changing. Patterns of light rippled across its body, blue and green, bioluminescence pulsing waves from its head to the tips of its arms. The patterns were complex, like it was trying to communicate something. I had never seen bioluminescence like that in any octopus, never read about it in any paper. This was completely new. "Are you getting this?" I asked Randall. "Recording everything," he said. The octopus hung there for maybe 30 seconds, just floating in front of our cameras, putting on this light show. Then it glided away into the darkness like it had somewhere significant to be. "We need samples," I said. My heart was beating faster than it should have been. "Randall, can you get us closer to those tube worms?" He nodded and worked the controls. The ROV moved forward carefully. I knew what this meant, all of it. This wasn't some interesting biological community. This was the discovery that would change everything we thought we knew about the life in deep ocean. This was exactly what I'd been hoping to find, and exactly what the mining consortium was going to destroy. I guided Randall towards this cluster that looked like someone had dumped a whole aquarium on the seafloor. Tube worms were packed so tight together that you couldn't see the rock underneath, and that's when the sound started. "What the hell is that?" Arya said. This low thumping came through the speakers, deep and rhythmic, like a heartbeat, but massive. Way too big to be coming from anything we'd seen so far. "Probably interference," Declan said, not looking up from his laptop. "Electrical systems can pick up all kinds of sounds down here. I've logged maybe 4,000 hours of watching ROV feeds. Deep ocean is usually dead quiet except for the hum of thrusters and the occasional ping from sonar. This wasn't interference, this was something else." Randall, you getting this on recording? Yeah, audio's clean. Whatever it is, it's real. The sound got stronger as we moved deeper into the vent field. Thump, thump, thump. Perfect timing, like a metronome. Started making everyone fidgety. Aria kept pushing her glasses up her nose. Declan finally looked up from his screen with this weird expression. I don't like this, he said. That made the two of us, but we were here to collect samples, and I wasn't heading back empty-handed, not after finding this place. Take us to those tube worms, I told Randall. Nice and slow. He worked the controls like he was defusing a bomb. The mechanical arm extended towards this cluster of red and white tubes swaying in the current. Beautiful things, really. Probably a new species. Definitely a new species. The arm reached out and grabbed one of the smaller tubes. Should have been simple. We'd done this 100 times before. Shit, Randall said. The arm was stuck. Pulling back just made it worse. What happened? Caught on something. Arm's not responding right. The heartbeat sound was getting louder. Switch to the close-up camera, let's see what we're dealing with. Randall hit some buttons and the main screen switched feeds. The image was way too close at first, just a blur of red and pink. Then he adjusted the focus. That's when I saw it. The arm wasn't caught on the tube worms, it was caught on something underneath them. This fleshy mass, smooth and wet looking, pulsing. Every time it pulsed, the heartbeat sound came through the speakers. I stared at the screen. The thing was huge. The camera couldn't show the edges of it. It stretched out in both directions like some kind of living carpet spread across the seafloor. All those tube worms, all those crabs and clams and anemones we'd been so excited about, they weren't just living on the rocks, they were living on this thing, growing out of it maybe, connected to it. The tube worms' bases disappeared into the flesh. The clam were partially buried in it. Even the crabs looked like they were part of it somehow. Randall, can you get a wider shot? He pulled the camera back. The organic carpet went on and on. Had to be covering acres of seafloor. All that life we'd cataloged, all those species I thought were independent organisms living around the vents, they were all connected, all part of something bigger. The heartbeat kept pounding through the speakers, steady and strong, like the thing knew we were watching it. My hands started shaking. I'd never seen anything like this. Never even heard anyone describe anything like this. This wasn't just a new species. This was something that shouldn't exist. Something was terribly wrong here. The pulsing got worse. Way worse. I'm sitting there watching this thing, this massive whatever it was under our ROV, and the heartbeat sound starts cranking up through the speakers. Not just louder, heavier, like someone was turning up the bass on the world's most disturbing subwoofer. The sound filled the whole control room, made my teeth ache. What the hell? Aria whispered. She'd backed up against the wall, hands pressed flat against it like she was trying to push herself through the metal. Declan just kept staring at his laptop screen, but his face had gone completely white. This isn't right, he kept saying. This isn't right. That's when I saw some movement on the main feed. Something was coming up from the flesh, not growing, erupting, like a fist punching through wet cement. Randall, I said. My voice came out steady, which surprised me. Back us up. Now. But Randall had stopped touching his controls. He was just sitting there, headset around his neck, staring at the screen. I can't, he said. The arm's still stuck. The thing that came up wasn't a tube worm. Wasn't anything I'd seen in all my years of deep sea work. It moved like a tentacle, but wrong. It curved up through the water with this horrible grace, like it knew exactly what it was doing. Emergency release, I shouted. Hit the emergency release on the arm. Randall's hands flew to his console. Started hitting switches. This tentacle thing, because that's what it was, even though it was the size of a telephone pole, wrapped around our mechanical arm like it was giving it a hug. A really aggressive hug. It's not responding, Randall said, his voice cracked. The release isn't working. On screen, more tentacles started showing up, each one bigger than the last. The camera shook as something grabbed the ROV itself. Not just grabbed, squeezed. I could see the pressure readings spiking on Randall's monitors. The heartbeat sound got so loud I felt it in my chest and my bones. Aria was covering her ears, and I don't blame her. It was like being inside a giant drum that somehow was pounding with sledgehammers. The arm, Randall said. Just that. 2 words. I looked at the main screen and watched our $60,000 mechanical arm snap like a twig. Just gone. Folded in half by whatever was holding it. The camera feed went crazy. Spinning, tilting, showing flashes of flesh and tentacle and darkness. That's when I saw it, just for maybe 2 seconds before the feed cut to static. Something massive rising up from way below. Not just big, huge, like watching a mountain decide to stand up. The camera caught this glimpse of something that might have been an eye, or might have been a mouth, or might have been something that I don't have words for. Then nothing. Gray static filling the main screen, but the heartbeat kept going, kept getting louder. I realized I could feel it through the ship's hull now, through the floor. The whole meridian was vibrating with each pulse. Easton's voice crackled over the intercom. "What the hell is happening down there?" He yelled, had to yell over the sound. "My instruments are going crazy. What did you people do?" "We woke something up," I said. The ship shuddered. Actually shuddered, like something had bumped into it from below. Except we were 3 miles above the bottom. "Emergency ascent," I said. "Right now." "What about the equipment?" Arya asked. She was still pressed against the wall. "Forget it," I said. "Leave it all. We need to get out of here." Easton didn't argue, didn't ask questions. He just grabbed his radio and started barking orders to the engine room. "Full power. Surface. Now." I watched my team pack up. 15 years of deep sea research, and this was how it ended. Running from something that shouldn't exist. Something that had been sleeping down there in the crushing darkness probably for longer than humans had been walking around on dry land. And we'd gone and poked it with a stick. The heartbeat followed us up, even as we climbed towards sunlight. Even as the pressure readings dropped and the water got lighter. I could feel that rhythm pounding through the ship's hull, like whatever was down there was saying goodbye. Or hello. Nobody talked on the way up. Randall sat with his hands in his lap, staring at the static on the main screen like he was waiting for it to change. Arya had stopped pressing herself against the wall, but she hadn't moved far. Declan closed his laptop, just closed it there and sat there. I don't think I'd ever seen him stop working before. The heartbeat faded somewhere around 2,000 meters. Not all at once, just gradually quieter. The way a song sounds when you're driving away from it. By the time we broke the surface, I wasn't sure if I was still feeling it or just remembering it. The Pacific looked exactly the same as it always had. Blue and flat and indifferent. Easton found me on the aft deck about an hour later. I was standing there where Nereid's cradle was. Empty now. $60,000 of equipment sitting on the bottom of the ocean. Or whatever was left of it. "What do I put in the log?" he asked. I thought about the consortium. Their messages getting shorter. Their ETA. Their seafloor maps and their equipment and their business plan for strip mining 3 miles down. "Equipment failure," I said. "Total loss. Recommend the site be marked as non-viable." Easton looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded and went back inside. I stayed out there until the sun started going down. Watched the water. It didn't do anything. It never does. It just sits there being enormous and dark and full of whatever it's always been full of. Long before we showed up with our ROVs and our sampling arms, and our need to catalog everything we find. I thought about that eye, or mouth, or whatever it was. I decided I was glad the feed cut to static when it did.